Hey everyone, welcome back to my 12 Days of Christmas series. Today I'm kind of changing it up and I'm going to do a Q&A as a follow-up from my last video. These are honestly questions that I keep getting asked by my friends and my family, so I thought that I would just film a video and answer all of the questions that I keep getting asked. It's a different mix of life, relationships, career, and my future, of course, because it is changing. If you don't know, go and watch my previous video. And of course, if you have any other questions that I don't answer in this video, feel free to comment them down below and I'll make sure that I reply. The first question that I keep getting, and it's probably my most asked question, is if my boyfriend is coming back to Australia with me, and the answer is no. There is a really long answer for this and I'll just quickly sum it up for you. Basically, for him to apply for a residency visa, he needs to be offshore, which basically means that he cannot be in the country when he applies for it. It's said that the process is meant to take up to 2 years, but I know people that were coming from England and they applied for their visa and they're still waiting after 2 years. Considering that my boyfriend has a Mexican passport rather than a UK passport, I can see that maybe it might take a little bit longer. So we're kind of thinking that it's probably going to take about 2 to 3 years. He's also not planning to apply until about the middle of next year. So we're going to be doing long distance for about 3 years, I would say. Also, another thing that sucks with this is while he's going through the process, he can't visit Australia, but that does mean that I need to be coming back to Mexico, or we need to be traveling elsewhere together to be able to see each other. But yeah, I feel like that's all I really need to say about that. It's a really long-winded answer, but basically, no, he's not, visa reasons, and it sucks. Another question that I keep getting asked is if I'm going back to camp next year, and the answer is no. If you didn't watch my last video, I basically explained that I was going back into teaching, and our school years don't align with the American school years, so I don't get that time off in the middle of the year, so I'll be teaching while all my friends go back to camp. It was such a hard decision for me to make. There were many jobs that I found that were 1 term or a semester, and I was offered a position for a semester, so I could have gone back if I wanted to, but I just felt like I needed to go home and kind of get settled and go back into teaching for an entire year. And the school that I'm at, I'm really excited for. Like, I got my class list as well and they just seem like such a beautiful class, and I'm really excited. I feel like I'll end up loving this school, touch wood, but it has such great reviews, especially coming from teachers, and their data is excellent when it comes to how they feel about being at the school. And so my plan basically moving forward is to just see how next year goes, and if I really love it, then I'll stay at the school. But if I find it a bit like I'm not loving it, maybe I'll reevaluate and potentially go back to camp the following year, but I don't know. I really don't know where I'm at with camp right now. All I know is I'm not going back next year. To go along with this, it's why did I decide to go back to teaching? Honestly, when I left teaching, I was so drained. I absolutely loved teaching and I knew that I wanted to be a teacher from quite a young age. I've talked about it in a video before, but it's just so unexpected, the things that you go through. But I definitely realized how much I do enjoy working with kids, and honestly I do miss being a teacher. I've been on a break for about 2 years. I did do a term last year when I went home. I did a final term 4 and I really loved it. It was at a different school. Again, I've talked about it before, but I did realize like I actually do enjoy teaching a lot. Maybe it was just the school that I was at. I loved the school that I was at, but I just think that I started as a first year there and I kind of fell into the habits of what first years tend to do. If you're a teacher, you'll understand what I'm saying, but basically I was just draining myself way too much, working myself way too much, and I felt like I needed a change. So yeah, I feel like last year when I worked at the school for 1 term, my boundaries were so much better and I was nowhere near as exhausted as I was the year before. Granted, I was in a different year level. I was in an upper year level. But next year I'm going to be doing lower years again, so we'll see. I am trying to ground myself a bit and set more boundaries for myself again, and hopefully it'll all work out. But at the end of the day, basically in my first couple of years, I burnt myself out way too much. I needed to take a break to realize that this is actually what I wanted to do, and with going back to camp again, I realized like this is what I want to do, so I'm very excited to go back and get back into teaching. The next question is, what position do I have at my new school? And like I said, I'm doing lower years. I'm doing year 2, which if you didn't know, at my first school I did year 2 2 years in a row, and then I taught year 6 last year, so I'm back in year 2. And they asked me like what year level I wanted to do, and I said honestly anything. Like I would love to do 2, 3 or 4, and obviously they put me in 2 because I have experience in 2. When I found out that I was doing year 2, I was really excited because after I had my interview and they asked me what year level I wanted to do, and I gave them that answer. I was like, oh, I wish I said year 2 because I do really love year 2. I love that age, and I was like kicking myself for it because I was like, I wouldn't mind doing year 3 or 4, but I think I want to do year 2 the most. And then I found out that I was doing year 2 and I audibly gasped. Like, I was so excited, and yeah, I'm so excited. I have so many ideas already, and thankfully, like, I have a fair few resources still, so that's a bonus. The next question is, what car do I want to get? I said in my last video that I'm getting a new car, and I've been talking to a couple of my friends and they keep asking me like what car I want to get. I think I want to get like a small SUV. I think that's what it is. Like, I'm looking at a Mazda CX-3 or the new Chery Tiggo 4, and I know that Cherys are Chinese brands and they have like a bad rep, but I know a couple of people that have them now, and I've seen many reviews of people that have them now and they absolutely love them. So I'm hoping, like, a few years ago, yes, they were a little bit dodgy and people had bad reviews, but from what I've seen lately, like, people love their Chery Tiggo 4. So I really like the look of that car. So when I go back, I'm obviously going to go and test drive a bunch of different cars, but the 2 cars that I'm looking at the most are the Chery Tiggo 4 and the Mazda CX-3. Also, I have been asked this question a fair few times, is how did I afford to travel for so long? Obviously, being here in Mexico, I live with my boyfriend and his family, so pretty much I don't have to pay rent or anything like that. I just live here for free, as does he. But I did bring money across with me that I do use all the time. In terms of traveling overseas, I knew that it was something that I wanted to do, and so I sold my car before I moved here. In 2019, I bought a brand new Mazda 3, and then 5 years later I sold it, and I had owned it already at that point, and then every dollar that I got from that like went straight to me into my bank account. So that's the money that I used to go traveling. And then of course I did Camp America, which I have saved most of my money from camp still, which I'm going to take back next year as like my refresh at the start of the year before I start getting my income. So that's how I make my money, and that's how I was able to travel for so long. Another question that I have been asked and I enjoy talking about, and it was, what was my favorite country that I visited this year? And I don't know if I've actually answered this before, but my favorite country that I went to this year was Spain. I just absolutely loved it. Like, I could live there. I went there after my tour. I just went there with my friend Abby, who was on my channel recently. We went to Valencia, Seville, Cartagena, and Madrid, and all 4 places were completely different to each other. I had the best time there. It was amazing. Like, I could absolutely live there and I could talk about it forever. But yeah, I definitely recommend Spain, and I want to take everyone that I know and love to Spain because it's absolutely beautiful. Next question is, do you think you'll ever live in Mexico permanently? And I don't really know how to answer this question because preferably no. I think that there's a better way of life living in Australia. Personally, like, maybe I'm biased because I'm Australian. Mexico, like, is great, but personally I would prefer to live in Australia, and I'd prefer to raise my family in Australia. But in saying that, I feel like if my partner's visa was denied, then maybe it's a possibility that we might be living here. I've never told him that, but I just think in my mind, like, obviously if I want to be with this guy and I want to have kids with this guy, and we want to have a family, and it can't happen in Australia, then it's probably the next best choice because of family and everything here. But also, I would enjoy living in a different country, which is a second part of this question, is would you ever live in another country? And when I was younger, I used to watch like House Hunters and stuff. I don't even know, like, you know, like those home channels, and I used to see people moving to Canada, and I used to think that was really, really cool. I feel like it's a similar vibe to Australia, but you actually get winter. Like, Australia doesn't work out, then maybe Canada. But then also in terms of would I move overseas again, I sometimes consider like going to London or like England because I have a lot of friends there. Most of my friends from camp are from England, and it kind of sucks like being on the other side of the world when I can't just go and see them. And like I said in my other video, like, relationships and friendships are so important to me. I think that would be a great option, especially if long distance gets a bit too hard for my boyfriend and I. Like, he can travel to England a lot easier, a lot cheaper. Like, it would work out a lot better if I was living in England. But I mean, I happily would. I'm just not sure in terms of my future as a teacher and setting up my life in Australia. I definitely want this time in my life to go back to Australia and like set up. Hopefully my boyfriend's visa gets approved, and when he comes over, like, I'll be like in a good year of my teaching. I'll have a place, like, you know what I'm trying to say? So I don't know in terms of that, but I feel like that answered the question though. I feel like you're kind of getting what I'm trying to say. I loved this question. I actually saw it online. Nobody asked me this, but I really wanted to answer it. And it was, if you could relive 1 month this year, which would it be and why? I was thinking about this as I was getting ready, and I really it took me a while, but honestly, this was my first thought and I wanted to share that because obviously it was my first thought for a reason. I think I would say June, because I went to Spain in June, and also I started camp in June. So orientation started like in the middle of June, and we also found out our co's. And if you didn't know, I was very upset when I found out that I did not have an international co this year. And then I ended up having the best co's I could have had in my life. I had 2 Americans, and they are literally like my ride or die. Like, I genuinely feel like they are the other 2/3 of me. I absolutely love them so much. So being able to meet them again and just knowing that they're going to be the best people at camp, I wish I could go back and relive it. But also, like, yes, Spain was my favorite country, so of course I would love to go back and visit there. So yeah, I would definitely say June. And my final question to wrap this video up is, what am I most excited about in 2026? I feel like so much is happening next year, and honestly I'm really excited. It's so bittersweet to live here because I really have enjoyed living here, and I definitely feel a lot more settled this time around since coming back from overseas in the middle of the year. I feel like comfortable. I have a Pilates studio that I go to. I made a friend. I enjoy like going to the shops by myself, and just like I feel a lot settled here. And it's very bittersweet obviously because I'm leaving my boyfriend and I don't know when I'll be able to see him again next. Obviously I'm lucky that I'm a teacher, so I get school holidays, but I don't know if realistically I can afford to come back in April and July, I think, and September and December. Like, that's like 12 grand just in flights alone. That's gonna be like the hardest part for me. I'm basically getting so off track, but it's very bittersweet to be leaving here. But I am very excited because I have missed Australia a lot. I'm excited to go back into teaching and to have my class and to start at a new school. There were a couple of people, like teachers and stuff, that I was in contact with that were trying to get me into their school. I was offered a position in like my first school that I was at, and my previous school I was in like contact with them as well, but at the end of the day I told them all no because I wanted to start at a new school and meet new people, and the people at the school seem absolutely lovely. So I'm very excited. I'm also excited to get back into Pilates because I started going to Pilates here and I love the studio here, so I'm hoping that I can find a studio just as good back in Australia. And all my classes here are in Spanish, so it'd be nice to actually not be delayed on the exercises because I do understand what the instructor is saying. And I'm hoping that I can get back into netball. But I'm also really excited just to see my family and my friends. I feel like I have missed my 2 best friends so much. I talk to them all the time and I cannot wait to see them again. But also I have rekindled a fair few friendships just like online, and I'm really excited to see those people again. So yeah, I feel like I'm just excited for 2026 in general. Like, that's all I need to say. I'm excited for absolutely everything. I'm excited for the possibility that I might be living on my own. Like, I'm just so excited. So I really hope that you follow along on my journey because my life is changing absolutely, like completely, and I cannot wait. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, make sure that you comment them down below and I will reply to you. But I would love for you to subscribe so that you can follow along on my journey for next year because I'm really excited and I have some great ideas in mind for my channel. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video and I'll see you in my one tomorrow. Bye!